Durag Diaries, Tottenham 2, Bournemouth 2, and we share the spoils. Fortunately for us, it's probably fair to say that we got a bit lucky yesterday. Sorry for coming out late with this reaction, I must say. Shout out to We Are Tottenham TV. I've done the watch long in their studio. Was nice to do it with Sim. And you know what? I'm unbeaten over there. Yeah. Brentford game, Bournemouth game, we ain't lost. So two games where we didn't lose. So I'm gonna take what I can get. From that. But look, big up to you if you're watching and tuning in and checking in. Make sure if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the thing. If you want to follow me on the socials, everything is here. But the performance just wasn't good enough. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not happy with the result. I feel like we were very lucky to walk away with what we got. Ultimately, in the end, we scored from a fucking cross and a penalty, which it's fair to say, you don't really know what Kepa was doing. It's normal Kepa lost his head, dived in when he didn't need to. The ball was so far away from the goal and wasn't even in a dangerous position. But you know what? I'm gonna take it. It's our second penalty of the season. Son missed his last one, so we needed him to score that. And bro, my man's penalty was worse than Speed's. Cause I don't know who was I watching. Son, was I watching Speed? I don't really know, but that penalty was horrendous. And again, very lucky to get the goals that we did. After we scored those goals, it's just like we went into our shell again, and Bournemouth took over the game, and it was just a mess from minute one. Let's just take it back to the starting lineup. First of all, I was pretty happy to see the back line with Jed Spence, Danso, Romero, and Porro, because Udogie did struggle midweek. I think it's fair to say he's probably still picking up his match fitness, still wasn't fully fit, and so it was fair to see him dropped, and I wasn't upset with that back line. The midfield, though, it had a lot of questions. Because, like, again, Ange doesn't learn. I've already addressed this before, but it's been so clear that you should know you can't play Ben 10, Balloon Man, and Pap Sarr in the middle. Like, Pap Sarr's an athlete. He's going to get around the pitch, but technically probably isn't the best on the ball. So he's not going to progress the ball well. He's going to press teams high up. And exactly what we saw yesterday, he's going to be aggressive in the press. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And he's got a decent final ball into the box or final decision making, but he doesn't really find himself in those positions too much. So someone you can't rely upon. He's definitely not a 10. Yves Bissouma, who, to be fair to him, didn't have a terrible game yesterday. The Balloon Man did not have a terrible game. But I think it was right that he got taken off at halftime, probably because he wants him to be fit for that game against AZ Alkmaar, because Ben 10, who we're moving on to, had an absolute nightmare yesterday. He had an absolute nightmare. It was time and time again on the first touch. Don't really know what he's doing. It's like our players were trying to force it forward. Every time we got on the ball, we're trying to catch Bournemouth in the transition, but we're doing these one-touch passes, but just kept going everywhere, all over the place. It was an absolute mess. And I felt like Ben 10 should have been subbed off a lot earlier than he was. That midfield should just never start together ever again. It doesn't make no sense. You needed Bergvall in there because we saw as soon as he come on, Torfin, the impact he had. We saw the impact he had. Coming to the battlefield, chinging man up, straight away, playing it forward, turning man, running at man. He's just a different class type of player to any of these three we've got in the midfield. And I can't lie, I'm getting a bit concerned about Bentancur. I know I said just last week, that we should sign him to a new contract because I do like him. I like what he brings to our midfield. But if he can't start to maintain a good set of form until the end of the season, we may have to start reconsidering that contract because, bro, the level of performance needs to be up here. I'm not seeing 7 and 8 out of 10s consistently. I'm seeing 5s and 6s and an 8 or 7 in there every now and then right now. So just not being good enough. The midfield was where we lost the game in that first half. Bournemouth breaking us down. Romero, I don't know what was going on with him. I get it's his first game in 3 months, but the decision-making for that pass in the first 20 seconds of the game put Evan Nilsson through on goal, and Vicario, a big Vic, saved us yet again. He had a very good performance. That's one player I feel like could probably hold his head high. Vicario had a good performance in goal, very very solid. Was a bit questionable on the ball. There was a few times where he's a bit shaky, absorbing a lot of pressure from Bournemouth. And it's one thing that's been consistent under Ange. And I was at first to say that the players need to make the right decisions. And I'll stand on that in saying they need to override what the manager's telling them at times. But I don't really know why he's not kicking it long. He should have kicked it long time and time again. And Bournemouth were breaking us down. For that first goal that they scored, it was just nightmare defending. Let's be honest. It was so clear to see the goal coming from when we lost the ball so high up in the pitch. You can't, Pedro Porro, get on the ball in that position, have 4 options, and fail to make that pass. Bro, grenade launcher football guy was having a mare yesterday as well. This guy, time and time again, just punching the ball into the middle, but to no one, straight into either Hoyson or Kirkes. And that's exactly what happened. He left Kirkes with plenty of open space just to glide into on that left-hand side. And I have to say, it was an absolute peach of a cross. Was that Milos Kirkes or Kevin De Bruyne? I don't know, innit? Because, bro, that whip found Tavernier perfectly. Some poor defending from Jed Spence, I will say. Probably should have been marking his man better there. He didn't check his shoulder once when the ball come over the top, but it was a great pass nevertheless. And Tavernier caused us absolute nightmares in that first game when they beat us 2-1. And yet again, this game, he was all over the place. Cliver as well behind the striker, constantly on the ball, running at his man, causing Pedro Porro and Romero constant problems. And when they had the offside goal, I really wasn't surprised. The amount of men that we committed forward on that right-hand side, Brennan Johnson, Bergvall, Bentancur, Pedro Porro, we had 3 or 4 players, maybe not Johnson, sorry, but 3 players committed to that challenge, missed it. And then they broke down on that left-hand side yet again, by the way, and easily just played it across our box, 2-0. Luckily, the offside flag got pulled up, but after that, I feel like the team woke up and started to realize the game had really flipped on its head. They obviously did get another goal from some quick little movement and good little play on the edge of our box. And look, Bournemouth were always going to be a problem. In my prediction, I tried to, I said that we were going to win 2-1, but more time I was leaning on a 1-1 when we woke up in the morning. You can check the tweets before people go in the comments to say, Jords, you said da 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 da. And so as the game grew on, it was fairly lucky. Like I said, the goal from Pap Saad, which was a cross. Some people can call that not a cross. I would say that it was a cross because it found itself. The way that he'd angled his body and the way that Solanke's run was making itself at the front post. It seemed like he wanted to aim for that, but ended up going all the way over to the back post. Odobert was pretty disappointing. I'll be honest. He had some good little moments in that first half against Lewis Cook, and then when he went up against Kirkes, probably went into his shell a bit. Didn't really have much joy, and probably needs to be a bit better in the final third with his decision making. I think that's one thing I've always maintained consistency with Odobert is that he's really good at beating his man. He's good at presenting an option and sort of giving the defenders questions. But when it comes to making that final decision, doesn't really look clinical there. He seems like he gets into the right places and then he might end up turning back or losing the ball or just kicking it at a player and going out for a corner. So was a bit disappointed in him. I think Solanke was a joy to have back. He was doing his hold-up play very well. You can see the difference between when him and Tel were playing. And this is why I had to tell you, again, Tel, what's in the name. I'm telling you, he was used incorrectly. Because if you look at the way that we played yesterday, it's no different to how we set up in any of the other games. It's just who we are, mate, as our manager would say. But Solanke being in there, it connects the forward line a lot better. He drops in, he's doing the little 1-2 touches, he's doing the hold-up play, he can bring it down on his chest, he can do a header flick on. There's just a bigger body up there. He's more of a target man. So it presented another option, but it still wasn't good enough, man. still wasn't good enough. I feel like the players overall, when Madison come on, had a decent game, didn't really do enough, and I feel like everyone was just making mistakes, just always wayward passes from from the first couple minutes, as we saw Romero, and then we saw Bentancur do it, we saw Porro do it, we saw Bergvall have a few moments. There was a point when Madison running to a few players, so it seemed like they weren't at the races yesterday. So all this talk about trusting in the manager and how he hasn't lost the dressing room, I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions about that. I do feel like there is questions of whether this manager can lead us forward. I do feel like the team is starting to not believe in what this manager is saying, because the football's just not looking good. You can see it for yourselves. And yeah, man, look, we share the spoils with Bournemouth. 1 point. Where does this put us in the table? Because it's absolutely dreadful. I feel like yesterday I had the realization that there is no chance we're going in the top half of the table. I think I've finally accepted that. I think it's fair to say, from where we're at and the fact that there's 10 games to go. Also, this is the first season since 20, so in 15 years that Tottenham are not going to win. They're not. It's impossible to win 10 games at home, which is 10, we can't win 10 out of 18 games at home. Deep that for a second. It's impossible. But this is the first season, yeah. So 34 points. We are 8 points behind 10th, reversing 10th in Fulham next week. So we could potentially gain on them that, but that's in the case that Crystal Palace don't win their game and potentially gain that lead as well. So, yeah, not great. Back level on points with Manchester United, and Everton and West Ham are just a point below us. And Wolves, you could say, steadily creeping, 10 points. So who knows? Who knows? It's not looking good. AZ Alkmaar midweek, we will be there. And yeah, man, look, you guys, make sure you keep an eye out for all the new videos that are coming out on the channel, new lives. We've got a busy schedule this week, a few special guests, boardroom talks, and yeah, make sure you tap the subscribe bell, tap the post notification bell and the subscribe button to stay up to date. And unfortunately, Spurs drop points. Yeah, again, man, it's Durag Diaries. We're out.